Okay, so let's dive into this just really weird year at the box office. Honestly, it's been pretty grim overall. We went through all the source material on these 2025 trends, and yeah, the big picture seems to be, well, audience apathy, lots of these massive blockbuster busts, and definitely a sense of like franchise fatigue setting in. People seem weary.
It's absolutely been a tough environment. You're right. These huge, nine-figure tent poles, the ones costing 200 million plus, they've just consistently stumbled, failing to make back those really massive costs. But, and this is the fascinating part, against that backdrop, one genre is just consistently performing. It's the unexpected hero, horror. So that's our mission for this deep dive. What is the secret to horror's, frankly, unprecedented success this year?
Right. And we should mention there are a couple of big exceptions. Just for context, Disney's live-action Lilo and Stitch did huge numbers, over $1 billion globally. And a Minecraft movie is getting close to that billion mark, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside those specific cases, the real story seems to be horror and the return it's delivering.
Exactly. And the numbers we're seeing for horror aren't just about, getting by. It's genuine global thriving.
Yeah.
If you look at the established franchises first, audiences are really showing up when there's a sense of finality.
And you're bringing their wallets.
Oh, absolutely. Take The Conjuring, Last Rites. It was really pushed as the, definitive end. And it pulled in over $473 million worldwide. That makes it the biggest performer in the entire Conjuring universe.
Wow. So ending a story can still be a huge draw.
Clearly, it shows ending something properly can still be a global event.
Yeah.
And even older franchises getting revivals are doing surprisingly well.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, especially with all the talk about franchise fatigue.
It is, but the sources suggest why they're working is different. They focus on strong, single concepts, Final Destination, Bloodlines, that reboot prequel thing. It grabbed $314 million.
Okay.
Proves there's still life in that kind of high-concept horror if it's done well.
Yeah.
Oh, and 28 years later brought in over $151 million, too. Solid numbers.
But I think for you, the listener, the really striking thing here, the thing that jumped out at me, is the success of completely original stuff. I mean, Sinners. Southern Gothic vampire film, zero existing IP. It made $366 million globally. That's huge. And then there's Weapons, that mysterious original film. Pulled in a really impressive $266 million.
Yeah, and that immediately brings up the big question. Why is this happening? How is horror pulling this off when these giant superhero films are struggling? And the answer really seems to lie in two things: smart budgeting and creative risk.
Okay, let's unpack the money side first, because that feels like the absolute key here.
Definitely. So these horror hits, they often get made for 10, maybe $20 million, sometimes even less, which means they can turn a profit even if they only make, say, $40 million domestically. It's a much lower bar. Now contrast that with a big studio tentpole. Costs $250 million maybe. To actually break even, factoring in marketing and everything else, that film needs to pull in something like $750 million worldwide.
Right. That's a vastly different financial reality. And that lower risk allows for more creative freedom, doesn't it?
Precisely. Because the stakes aren't quite as astronomical financially, the genre becomes this sort of hotbed for fresh ideas, often driven by a director's vision. They tend to rely less on super expensive CGI, more on practical effects, building atmosphere, really aiming for that visceral reaction. You mentioned Sinners, that Southern Gothic feel. It's all mood, atmosphere, dread, mixing the supernatural with real cultural stuff. It feels unique, not like a formula.
Yeah, and connecting that back to the bigger picture, it really seems like audiences are just tiring of the homework required for these huge interconnected universes. The fact that unique standalone stories like Sinners and Weapons are hitting shows people want something different, something designed just to provoke a reaction, not just, serve the next plot point in a giant saga.
And another critical point, horror often taps into what we're all feeling right now: contemporary anxieties.
Yeah.
Because they can be made relatively quickly and cheaply. They can wrap psychological thrills or even subtle social commentary inside the scares that makes them feel really relevant, really now, in a way that a massive blockbuster plan 5 years ago just can't.
So, boiling it all down for you, the listener, the main takeaway seems pretty clear. In a year where maybe familiarity is breeding contempt, the most valuable IP in Hollywood might actually be a genuinely scary, brand new idea, especially one that costs less than maybe the catering budget on one of these struggling blockbusters.
Which leaves us with a final thought, something provocative for you to chew on. If the major studios do start seriously rethinking their blockbuster strategies after this year, will they actually manage to integrate these lessons from horror, about smarter budgets, about taking creative risks, or will the gravitational pull of chasing huge opening weekends, chasing that massive gross revenue, just win out over building a more sustainable, profitable model? Something to consider.